Dear FinTech people, welcome back to another exciting episode of The Future Of here at Nordic FinTech Magazine. Today we're speaking with no other than Louise Ferslev, CEO and founder at Mymonii. Louise has a super interesting background that took her from competitive golfing all the way to FinTech founder. In this interview, we talk about financial inclusion for an underserved market segment that we don't usually hear much about. We also discuss the importance of building healthy money habits and how through technology, Mymonii is doing just that. We also talk a fair bit about Louise's entrepreneurial journey, the ups, the downs, and the things that she's learned along the way, and even about how TikTok may become the next competitive arena for fintechs and financial institutions to engage existing and future customers. I am sure you will love listening to Louise as much as we enjoyed talking to her. Well, Louise, thank you so much for being here. It's great to meet you and to have you here with us. Thank you for taking time to speak to us.
Thank you.
So let's just get started. Tell us about Mymonii. What is Mymonii? What's your value proposition? What do you do?
Yeah, Mymonii is teaching kids good money habits or teens. So everyone between 7 to 18s, we want to give them good money habits early in life and understand what does it mean to save, earn, spend your money wisely, and now also getting the interest for investing. So that's like the basic of Mymonii. And it's an app, and you have your access as a child or teen, and then you have the parent view as well, where you can see everything instant, and you can set spend limits, and you can have the full overview of all your kids, and then the kids can have their own view in their app and see what's going on with their money.
All right, so what's really interesting for me here is that young people has usually been an underserved part of the market for financial services. Why did you decide to go after that particular market?
I think actually it started out with me focusing on making, I wanted to make a gift card. That was like when I had my education, then I wanted to make a gift cards for my own age, because when I wanted to go to a party, then just picking up a gift card which can be used everywhere, that would be so nice, and then I could load it from a website. That was the initial idea, just a hobby project. But then when I spoke with many different people out there, most of them were actually parents, and they said, if you build this, then I'll definitely use it for my kids on 12. So just let me know, because then I'll get this gift card and then I'll control it from the website. And that made me realize there is something here that the banks have not yet built, and that was 5 years ago when I founded the company. So that was my that was the initial thought. Then we made this allowance app and started to get some users on it, and we quickly realized that when the kids could see that they had an amount of, for example, 200 kroner saved up, then they asked, can we connect it somehow with a payment solution? Could we spend this money in real stores somehow? And that's where we went for finding a partner for the payment solution. So we went to some banks, we talked with Nets, we talked with different kind of players who could issue cards. And decided to make a partnership with Nets, which we learned a lot from, and have also closed down again 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was that's a lot of learnings there. Learned from partnerships between a small company and a huge organization.
Right. Okay, and then we'll touch on those as well in just a moment. But something I'd want to try to understand is, it seems that the solution that you've created with Mymonii touches on a number of different problems. At least I can identify that there's financial inclusion, because it's addressing an underserved part of the market. There is the element of financial literacy, and well, perhaps also wealth democratization, if we talking about investment and that sort of thing. What was the main problem that drove you to say, okay, especially when you spoke to the parents, what was the problem that they were identifying as the main problem that needed a solution?
Actually, back when I founded it, it was more the fact that you didn't have cash anymore. So it's like, I want to give my kids money, I don't have cash anymore, but the kids don't have a card either. So, and they don't have this overview. But then when we just thought, okay, then we can just give them a card, but then that wouldn't then they wouldn't understand anything. They would just spend and spend until it says stop. So, so I would say out of those three that you said, then financial literacy is definitely our highest priority.
Right.
But I do like with our newest feature, with Mymonii Invest, I do like the fact that all the families can get access to this. Like you don't need a mom or dad being really wealthy or like being interested in investment to start with. You can just get started with Mymonii.
Okay, and what were the main challenges that you found when you were trying to launch the product, given the fact that you already had received some feedback in regards to the demand for a product like the one that you were trying to create?
Yeah, I would say that the biggest struggle, at least if I should just pick one, because there are of course a lot, just to be honest, but the biggest struggles throughout the whole lifetime of Mymonii has definitely been to find the right partner setup. I would say that now we have partnered with Nets. Mm-hmm. We have had a partnership with a program manager who was like a middleman, and then an issuer was also a middleman to MasterCard. And now we recently switched to a setup with a new partner, a card issuer. And what I learned since when we founded it, a lot of things has happened in the fintech space around in Europe, and 5 years ago there wasn't the same options as there is today.
Right.
So I think like there is something about finding the right partner, but also timing wise, like when are you founding your company, because 5-6 years ago then it was a different world, very outdated solutions, I would say.
Right. And so if we focus on financial literacy, why is that an issue? Why do people need to learn how to manage their finances at such an early age?
I think that like what's happening in the society or in the world is that the fact that money is becoming digital and payments all over is being super easy. So you can just blink with your eyes or like double tap, and then you have already paid it and the products are on its way. I think there's a huge amount of there's a huge need for visualizing when did you spend money, and really showing what happens when you save up for a longer period, and what happens if you spend a lot of money every day. Then like getting that visualized in an app is very important now that money is just a number on a screen, whereas actually cash that's easier to understand because you have it
right.
like physically, and then when they're gone, they're also gone. But if they're gone on an account, then it still feels like the same. It's a physical card, right? So yeah.
Now, what I find really interesting is that perhaps many of us grew up without having sound money management habits. So I think, I mean, I've read some studies that up to 88% of people in some European markets don't feel comfortable enough with knowing well enough how to manage their money. So when we talk about building healthy financial management habits, what would you say are examples of those habits?
It's of course something about like, okay, I have this amount of money, I cannot spend more than that. So that's important, and also we have this saving goals feature in the app that shows like how far are you from saving up for an iPad versus a football, for example. So you can see it takes longer time to save up to an iPad. So getting that understanding of the value of things, that's a huge thing. But also thinking about, okay, so I have this amount of money available, and that's my decision to decide if I want to spend them on bubble teas or cheeseburgers every day, or if I wanna like maybe do that once in a while and then go save up for something, or try to invest money and like see what is going on with my money if I invest them and wait and have the patience. So for us it's all about also for our users, that they can see this is my money and this is me who are in charge of them, and then just learn by doing.
Right. Okay. So then the question I have now is that recently we've seen this uptake of NFTs and of Web3 and play-to-earn games, and it seems that the environment under which these trends are developing, they're geared mostly to young people, right? And one of the trends that we're seeing is fast money, is where people are creating NFTs and becoming millionaires overnight. Is that trend at odds with the type of financial habits that Mymonii is trying to build?
I think it's a really interesting question, and we talk about it internally in Mymonii, when and if this will ever be something that we will focus on or like think about. But for us, it's always this balance of us. We want to have like giving them good money habits. We want to let them be patient and think about what to do, and not going for risky things. So we are. It's something that we haven't decided yet. If we can see that financial literacy equals all of the risky things that's going on, because we also seen some cases in the US for grown-ups where they have young people have like put all their money into some crazy risky stock and then just like going bankrupt from one day to another. So I think for us it's really a balance to do it in a right way, to teach them good money habits instead of getting them into a debt one day.
All right, and one of the things I found really interesting about what Mymonii is doing is that I saw that you're planning on having a presence on TikTok, which is a platform that traditionally has been completely neglected by financial services institutions. So what made you decide to actually go and use that as a channel?
That is of course we need to be on those platforms where people are, and that we have like two target groups. So we have the parents, and they are mainly above 35, that's the youngest, and then up to 55-ish, the parents, and they are still the decision makers for under 18. And then of course we have the target group from like under 18, so we have those two, and most of the those from Generation Z, they are on TikTok right now, and what there's this kind of trend where they also look at very stupid and just purely entertaining stuff that is like really weird and not educational at all. But they actually, TikTok is trying to promote educational content, different things, how to solve issues, how to solve school tasks and stuff like that. They go on TikTok and then they learn a lot from there.
Wow.
So they actually have something called Learn on TikTok. And they really try to promote educational content.
Okay, well, that's really interesting. We should check it out. I haven't seen that. Okay, so let's now talk a little bit about entrepreneurship. Yeah. We hear very often people say, if only I had enough money, or if I had a good idea, or if I had a team of people that could do certain things, I would love to be an entrepreneur. So my question to you is, why are you an entrepreneur?
It's a really good question. I think the reason why I like being an entrepreneur, I could start with that, is I like this competitive everyday life. So I like that setting small short-term goals and long-term goals for myself and the team, and then actually reaching them after a while, or whatever it takes, we will reach those goals. I really like that part of it, and I think also it comes from me being a golf player at elite level once. So I had this like, should I stay like just being a normal golfer, like from a hobby, or should I go professional? And I was really like, I really liked the fact that like competing, and especially competing against myself, that's a lot in golf. So I mean, for me, that's what I like in my everyday, like just that part of it. At least I really like reaching goals, and I also like to be in charge of all the decisions. So I like to choose who do I want to work with. So it's me who hire the people I work with. It's me who is making the culture. So I, together with the team, we are like, we'll set this culture and we decide how we behave. And also like, okay, actually we had a big strategic change 2.5 years ago, where it was, we were a B2B company and then had to change it over to B2C, and taking that big decision, that was on me. And on one hand, it felt extremely lonely because I knew that I could get as much input as I wanted, like from everyone, but it would be me in the last end that had to take the last decision. And I like that part of it, that me being in control of everything. I just that's just a good fit with me, at least.
And in your experience, what would you say is the most important skill that an entrepreneur needs to have?
Yeah, there is a lot, because you need to like take on different hats all the time. But I would say that persistence might be the most important. On like that, just if you go and you start something and you believe that after 2 years then you're done with it and you can cash out. I mean, that just that's not how it works for many entrepreneurs. So it's really about like, okay, 2 years after I founded this, something is not happening. How can we change it a little bit towards another direction, and then try that direction? And then if that doesn't work, change a little bit more, and then keep going. And that's something that I have experienced, but also those very experienced like serial entrepreneurs that I have as sparring partners. And like when I ask them what is the most important, they also say it's without a doubt just persistent, like keep going.
Right. And what would you say is the achievement that you're most proud of in Mymonii or as an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think that's always a hard question actually, but I had thought about it, and I would say that it was taking that big decision when we 2.5 years ago, when I had Eddie, my son, like he was 4 months old, and I was like having him here, and then on the side I also had to take this really big strategic decisions, because we were B2B and the team was focused on B2B, and we talked with the banks. We were maintaining a allowance app white label solution for Arbejdernes Landsbank, fifth largest bank in Denmark. And we have done that for 1 year, but we didn't manage to close the next bank and the next bank. So it was like, it worked for one bank, but we couldn't scale it. We couldn't like get 5 banks on it. So it was a tough decision because it partly worked, but not good enough. So we had to like cut all of that, take that big decision, and then just try to go B2C without knowing if there was a willingness to pay or anything.
Right.
So saying no thanks to the only revenue we had, and then it's going from scratch again. I would say that was the toughest decision, but it also, I would say that was actually what I'm most proud of, that I actually did it, because it was a tough one.
Yeah, and the courage you must have taken to actually take that leap.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so when we talk to entrepreneurs, we often hear that their entrepreneurial journey is basically just a sequence of failures and just failing and getting up and failing and getting up. And it's basically all the learnings that they accumulate through all the failures. So in your experience, what have been some of the most important learnings and the lessons that you've taken from your journey?
I think one of the most important is to get the contracts right, with like when it comes to the shareholders agreement. When you start out from scratch, make sure you have a good one, and don't make a one-pager. And I mean, that's I could use 30 minutes on talking about a stupid thing we did in the beginning. Just let's keep it simple. Let's just make a one-pager, and that's not a good idea. So do it right with the contracts, especially as a fintech, because it is just a legal world that like do it right. And also when it comes to partnerships, make sure that you don't get stuck in an agreement for 5 years. I have tried some partnerships where they just said like, you can exit this agreement, but then it takes 3, 4, 5 years to get out of it. And that's not what you want as a fintech. You will need to be, like for example, Mymonii, we were founded in the end of 15. And we have had, now this is the 3rd partner setup that we had, so it's been really important for us, like to be able to close down a partnership and start a new one without being stuck there.
Right. All right. And just a moment ago, you talked about persistency being one of the most critical skills. So the question I have for you is, can anyone be an entrepreneur? Even if they're not naturally persistent, could people learn to be persistent, or what's your take on that?
I think you need some kind of match between your personality and the entrepreneurial world so that you will like it. Because it doesn't make sense to force yourself to being an entrepreneur if it doesn't feel good. Then you'll just be stressed all the time and maybe even go down with stress or like anxiety. And so I think you need to be some kind of like, you need to like that part of it. Like it's adrenaline kick. It's like someday there'll come a huge challenge in on your table, and then you are the only one who needs to fix it, and make sure you find the right person to fix it. But you need to be able to like that responsibility and the competitiveness and the challenges and the learning curve, and like that's really I think that's important. So you don't force it down on yourself that you need to be what you see in the media, for example, if you don't are that kind of person.
Okay, so let's say that someone who's idealized the whole idea of being an entrepreneur, that's just about to start their career, comes to you and says, would you recommend that I become an entrepreneur? What would you tell them?
I actually always recommend them that they should go for it, because I would also already say that reaching out to people and being like out there and getting feedback on your idea, that's a good sign already, because then you're out there and you dare to tell about your story and what you want. But I'm also really honest, like how is it to start an app? And then I've also recommended some to just get started with a website, because I mean, starting with an app, that's just way more complicated. So get started with a website, really simple, try it out, and then spend the money on building an app, for example. So trying to get started simple. But it's more, when they come to me, I always encourage them, especially if they're women.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, and then so what advice would you give to starting fintech founders about the journey that they have ahead?
I would say be persistent, again, because there was an entrepreneur who once said to me, like, it takes 9 years to create an overnight success, and that's just a real fact. And if you see, like in the media, it's always like, and then we got to this valuation at so long time, and like trying to shorten it down. And I perfectly get that, because you want to show that you can prove traction in a really short period of time. But it also shows a signal to entrepreneurs that, okay, I need to succeed within the next 3 years, otherwise I can just throw everything in the trash. And I've seen, especially in fintech, it takes a lot of time in fintech to build a company, because you cannot just build a bank like this, and there's some like managing real money and dealing with real money that just requires more than just being a software company. So in that case, it is a bit different. So be patient, but also like go fast and all of that. But also don't be afraid if you didn't succeed the first 3 years. just the other day I also saw a post from one who had, I won't mention any names, but just a really cool case where he has been trying for more than 4 years to get a partnership with a bank, and they've just turned him down, like said no, no, no. And then recently, I think it was 1 year ago, he got a license, and now he's ready to give the product that he's been working for to those customers that you want to give it to, and now it's just going crazy. Like, so there's just something about, like, you need the right partner, and it takes a while. Mm-hmm. It can take a while, and then when you hit it, you can hit it really really great. So just keep going, but fintech is a more demanding space.
Right. And just the last question. Let's go back to talking about Mymonii. Mm-hmm. What can we expect to see from Mymonii in the next 2 to 3 years?
Yeah, we right now we are focusing on everything else than Denmark, which is a huge thing for us. Like, that's a huge change for us. So we are looking at expanding to Germany first of all, with the financial product, with the card, everything being halfway approved for that. So that's going to be really, really exciting. And then in 2 or 3 months is that we will have an app that can stand alone and be global. And until now we have only focused on Denmark, mm-hmm. and we have even said on the website, even if we translate it to English, we said like Denmark's biggest allowance app, and I realized that we need to think outside of Denmark for sure. So we have learned a lot in the Danish market, but it's small and it's really high competitiveness in our space. Yeah, soon we'll be ready with a global app which can stand alone, and then going in with a Visa card in Germany.
Well, that's really exciting news, and we'll definitely be keeping an eye out for Mymonii here at Nordic Fintech Magazine. So, Louise, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing with us your insights and your experience. It's been really nice meeting you and talking to you.
Thank you for inviting me.